Okay, I'm going to call to order the Lynnwood City Council work session of Monday, April 6, 2026 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hurst.
I'm here, thank you.
Council President Coelho.
Still here.
Council Vice President Escamilla.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Lutweiler.
Here.
Councilmember Mata.
I'm here.
Councilmember Owings.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Partial.
Ready.
Councilmember Wright.
Present.
All present, Mayor.
Very good. As far as mayor comments, I would like everyone to welcome our new city clerk, Nathan McDonald, sitting behind us there. And then just a couple of things. One, I'm really looking forward to having some great interviews later in executive session. But last week, I was able to go to a fantastic meeting at the Lynnwood Senior Center. They had good questions. It was root beer floats with the mayor. I thought I made the floats, but apparently I did not. They were already made, so that was okay. And then Wednesday, exciting news, is the Poplar Way Bridge groundbreaking. So that has been a project long on City Council agenda, and it's finally now happening. So pretty exciting. So council comments. Let's start with Council Member Owings. Any?
Just happy to be here. I did want to mention that I went on a tour of the Enzo project. It's now they are reaching out and actually leasing out those apartments, and it was cool to see the finished product and see what they have to offer our people coming into our city to try to keep them here long term instead of just in and out. If we give them a great place to stay, then they'll be long term tenants. So. That's really all I got to comment on. So,
thank you, Council Member Partial.
Oh, thank you. I just want to add my congratulations to Nathan McDonald. Welcome, Nathan, as new clerk. I will be seeing you regularly on Mondays from now on, I suppose. And I did want to also thank Darcy Kirshner for filling in so ably. Our deputy clerk did a fantastic job while we were waiting for Nathan to come on board. So, thank you to you both.
Great, Council Member Lutweiler.
No comments.
Council Vice President Escamilla.
I am just happy to be here. Happy to hear the candidates today. And just wanted to let everybody know and remind you guys that the 2 line is now open to Redmond. And so you can ride to Seattle and then across the lake to Redmond. Myself and Council President got to go on the pre-ride, and that was an experience to go across the water for the first time and just feel the connection and the excitement. So that's really cool for our region. Other than that, I know I told you guys that I went to the first Heroes Cafe, but I don't think I told you guys how cool it was and how many people were there. I don't know, maybe over 100, right? Easily. And so that was really exciting. And so I just wanted to let anybody that doesn't know about the Heroes Cafe that they are doing that on a significant week of the month. I will bring that for the next business meeting so that everyone's aware. And I just, wanted to share that news. Thank you, guys.
Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. Tomorrow, April 7th, the History and Heritage Board is having their annual spring clean at Heritage Park from 9 to 2. Also, there's a lot of observances in April, but one that's very dear to my family is Deaf History Month, and just wanted to call that out. It celebrates deaf culture, ASL, and the contributions of deaf and hard of hearing folks in society. The purpose is to promote awareness and deaf and hard of hearing rights, accessibility, and also the history of advocacy. The theme this year is the right to understand, and together we break barriers. Also excited for the interviews this evening, and congratulations to Nate. And thanks to Darcy for filling in, and Darcy swore me in on February, so that was very exciting. And lastly, go blue.
All right, Council President Coelho.
Thank you, Mayor. Man, I'm just so distracted by the beautiful weather outside. I've been going to Scriber Lake every day for the past few days, and it is just packed right now. I'll echo all the comments that were made. Vice President and I went on the preview ride for the 2-line, but more importantly, I went just yesterday with my mother, who uses a walker, and we were able to get on the zip from her place down to the transit center, hop on the train, go to Mercer Island. I've actually never been there. Explore the area, go to a French bakery, get on the train, go to Capitol Hill, go check out the farmer's market there, go check out another French bakery, and get back on. Never had to set foot put my foot down on a pedal. It was just interesting. It's a different experience, and it's just amazing how far we've come. So I look forward to more developments like that in the city to come. Thanks.
Very good. All right. Any comments or questions on the memo items that are? Oh, sorry. Out of sight, out of mind. Hi.
I know, it's like I'm gone for 4 days and you've all but forgotten me. Just a couple of comments. I toured the wastewater treatment plant last week, and the work they're doing is amazing. They showed me this, they have this other mechanism called flock, which is a part of the process, which is cool to hear it in a different use. The work they're doing is truly amazing. So it was really fascinating to see where our sewage goes, how it gets made, how it gets turned into, the water that goes out into the sound. Ask some good questions. So excited to kind of see how that project progresses and how we can do this project in a way that will sustain our community for the next 200 years, hopefully. So that was really cool. No other further comments. I'm coming back tomorrow from Palm Springs. I was celebrating Passover with my family, which, as people don't know, it's the story of Moses and Egypt, and it's a whole thing. And it was a really nice weekend. So I'm just happy to be coming back tomorrow, and I will see you all very soon.
Great. Okay. Making sure everybody. All right. Didn't miss anybody else. All right. Now let's go to the comments and questions on memo items. Any? Good. Then we will go then to work session item 6A, a discussion of Opportunity Zones 2.0 with Sarah Troe, City Center Program Manager, and Director Ben Walters.
Good afternoon, Council. It feels like afternoon. Beautiful sunny afternoon. We're here today to give you an update on a program that has already been in place here in Lynnwood since around 2018. It's a federal program to incentivize investment in targeted areas that are defined by census tracts that have lower than median incomes, and it has played an important role in the investment that we have successfully attracted to City Center as part of that long-term vision that the city has had to create a new downtown at that location anchored by the light rail station. That program, which is called Opportunity Zones 1.0, was replaced by a new program, Opportunity Zones 2.0, that was passed by the federal government last year as part of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. And so there's a new process, there are new criteria. Sarah is going to walk us through all of those details. And for council, really the only action would be potentially later next month at this current point, based upon current information, a resolution of support. So this program doesn't cost the city any money. It is simply an action by which we need to provide the state of Washington with our preferred qualifying census tracts that we want to continue to attract investment in through this program. That process is going to be very competitive because the rules are more restrictive. But we're in a good position for what we're trying to achieve relative to the criteria that as we currently understand them. So you're getting a very early look at Opportunity Zones 2.0. So with that overall introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who's going to walk us through some of the details.
Thank you, Ben. Next slide, SD. So Ben provided a brief overview of what is an opportunity zone. So as Ben previously shared, this program was established back in 2017 with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, where it determined that opportunity zones were federally designated tracts that were meant to spur investment in undercapitalized communities. The program provides a federal tax incentive that provides capital gains tax benefits to investors in these designated census tracts. So investors will ultimately defer and reduce capital gains taxes by investing in what are called qualified opportunity funds, or QOFs. In the state of Washington, we currently have 139 designated opportunity zones across 36 counties. Next slide, SD. So now, with what we are calling OZ 2.0, what are some of the changes, or what should we be expecting? Overall, we know that this round will be more competitive than the first round, as the program features permanent changes to the policy's geographic targeting criteria and the incentive structure and reporting requirements for the program. This new program will narrow future OZs to be more focused in distressed communities in order to direct capital into truly underserved areas. And the eligibility requirements have also been tightened for the second round, reducing the expected qualified opportunity zone tracts by about 20%. And according to the Department of Commerce, there are currently 139 OZs in the state. And under this new program, the number of new OZs will be significantly less. And of those less census tracts, at least 25% of the new OZs must be located in rural communities. So that is a new requirement for the second round. Based on the current information that the city has received from the Department of Commerce, the governor is allowed to nominate up to 25% of Washington's eligible census tracts to be designated as potential opportunity zones. So out of 394 potential eligible census tracts, we believe that approximately 98 census tracts across the entire state will be nominated for this second round. So we'll be seeing a decrease from 139 to 98. Here on the map, you can see the boundary of the city of Lynnwood in the orange. And in the yellow segments, you can see 4 different census tracts that will currently be eligible for the second round of Opportunity Zone. You can see the first census tract on the west side of Highway 99, the second census tract on the northeast side of Highway 99, and then you can see the 2 on the bottom side of 196, one covering City Center and one in South Lynnwood. Currently, the city has 2 census tracts that are eligible under the current program, the bottom 2 that are highlighted in the red. Initially, when the city applied for the first round, that was actually considered 1 census tract, but since then it has been split into 2. You can see some of the projects that have came online in the last 5 years since we passed the Opportunity Zone in Lynnwood. You can see Connect, Ember, Coes, and Enzo that have all been built in our city center. So we've seen a lot of redevelopment take advantage of this tool, primarily focused in our city center. So what do we expect next for our timeline? Currently, the application window that the state has provided has been delayed by the Department of Commerce. It was initially set to open on April 1st and close on May 1st, but they're waiting for additional guidance from the federal government on how they should process the applications and what the eligibility requirements will be. With that information, the city is anticipating around a 1-month application window, and we are getting further instructions on when that application window will start. In the meanwhile, since the application window has been delayed, city staff have been working over the last month and coordinating with neighboring jurisdictions developers, property owners, with the county, just to get an idea of what other cities are planning for and how we want to prioritize what census tracts we will be applying for in this second round. Ultimately, we will need to identify which priority areas we would like to submit for nomination, and we will return to City Council ultimately for recommendations for a resolution of support. Esty, if you can go back to the last slide where it showed the map. Based on what we are currently seeing in development in the city, initially our recommendation will be that we would like to reapply for the two of the same census tracts that are currently in our current opportunity zone, so the two that you see highlighted in the red. We are still waiting for additional guidance from the Department of Commerce and from the federal government on whether these 4 tracts will be eligible, as they're making some tweaks with what the eligibility requirements will be. But that will be the recommendation coming from city staff as we await to get more information on the application. And with that, if we have any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Questions? Councilmember Partial.
Thank you, Director Walters. Program Manager Cho. This is competitive, obviously. Is there anything we need to know about making Lynnwood more competitive, or that not a point we're at, or is that a secret that the staff needs to hold close to the vest? Just curious how we're going to stand out in this process.
That's a great question. We're still trying to figure that one out. So to the credit of our colleagues at Department of Commerce, they had a series of learning sessions and information Q&A sessions across the entire state. And they were like webinars. Sarah participated in them. And they were moving forward toward starting this process April 1st. However, we subsequently got information from them that they were delaying that process because they were awaiting further clarification and further information from the U.S. Treasury Department related to the ultimate criteria on selection and also clarifying information about which census tracts would actually be eligible. Now, the information we provided you come from not only the State Commerce Department, but also from the U.S. Housing and Urban Development and from Treasury, right? However, given the uncertainty and rapidly changing circumstances at the federal government level, I think the state's trying to be cautious. We've done some more research ourselves. There's actually guidance documents out there for governors and mayors about from independent analytic firms who probably also work with investors. There's a lot of money that has been invested through this past program, pushing, I think, nearly $100 billion across the country. And they were advising a key criteria would be to align or to select those census tracts that align with real development opportunities. Their point was just because a census tract received a designation did not guarantee that it would attract investment, so they asked for some of that alignment. If that's the criteria to be used, then Lynnwood stands out because we have demonstrated forcefully and significantly that the market is interested in our area. Now, some might ask, well, if you've already proven that the area is attractive to investment, why do you need this incentive? In fact, I think the mayor asked that question on a number of occasions related to this program and our other programs, and it's a great question. The fundamental value is that for the community is that having this additional incentive really expands the number of potential developers who would be interested in working here, and I would argue also attracts a better quality of development. There's less financial pressure on the pro forma, basically the financial plan for these developments. And as a result, it has helped us get to a place with these developers whereby they feel really confident in building a higher product. So that's, I think, one big advantage. We'll know more, hopefully, in the next several weeks. But that is one way we think we stand out. Another way we stand out is, at this point, within the county, I would say Sarah is one of the leading experts on this whole program. Other jurisdictions are going to her, asking what about this or that related to the program. She, in turn, is connecting with economic development colleagues around the state to learn what they know about this. So I think that also puts us in a good position going forward.
I love to hear when cities are coming to Lynnwood for advice. It seems to happen a lot lately, especially within the DBS department. I'm confident of your ability to be nimble and make Lynnwood shine on this. So look forward to more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Council President.
Thank you for the brief, informative presentation, as usual. I like being efficient with our time. So am I hearing it right that they're looking at basically culling the number of opportunity zones in the state by, what was that, like 30%?
I believe it's around 25%.
25%?
Yep.
So if we're still in the running, then that makes us even more of a prized area to develop in. That's cool. Okay. In the interim between now and OZ2, are there any changes? Is everything just working as normal until then?
From my understanding, yes, no current changes to the program. Essentially, the timeline that we are working with the Department of Commerce is we are anticipating the governor to submit their nominations for Washington State in July. And then essentially the U.S. Treasury would designate the final OZs and will be implemented beginning of January of 2027. So as of now, nothing has currently changed with the current OZ program. This would be for the second round that would be implemented next year.
But other than eligibility, are there any changes to incentives, or is it just, as far as we know, the same incentives?
The incentives are largely the same for our urban census tract, should they be approved for round 2. There's some additional incentives now under the new program for rural areas. Mm-hmm. So, number one, rural areas will get a specified carve-out, so that will likely lead to an increased number of rural. Also, the amount of investment, like for ours, it has to be like 100% improvement in a substantial improvement in property or in business. Rural areas, it's only 50%. So easier entry, more wider range of projects that could be invested in. And then there's also, I think, slightly increased capital gain benefits on rural. For us, it remains largely the same.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Council Vice President.
Thank you for the presentation and update. Opportunity zones are very interesting. So does it matter as far as chances and likelihood go, the more tracks that you apply for? First question. I have 3.
Mm-hmm. So related to that, we don't have specific guidance on that, as we've said. At the moment, I would say we're contemplating that, let's say we have 4 qualifying, but we only submit 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. Well, that shows we're not being greedy, to be straightforward about it. That we're making the job easier for Commerce and for the governor. We're not trying to try to crowd our way in that regard. And so I think I would anticipate that would be something that, whether officially or unofficially, be given some consideration. So that's kind of our view of that.
Okay.
We are not sure, for example, Commerce may, for example, try and lean on the the economic development organizations that are in the counties around the state to maybe help kind of organize and prioritize, but they've given no clear guidance on that. That was a process that Snohomish County and the predecessor to the Economic Alliance of Snohomish County used for round one. There's no guidance to do it that way, but at this point, given the number of census tracts that are seeking and the number of communities that are seeking to apply, ESAC, the Economic Alliance, is convening a meeting on Wednesday of cities to kind of compare notes and see where that is. So out of that collaborative effort, perhaps we, from a Snohomish County perspective, may come up with some approach related to which census tracts would we, as a community and as a county, send for us. The idea is if there was unanimity on that from a region, that would also potentially be seen favorably by the state.
Okay, so this is where my brain is going. It makes sense that we would want to resubmit the ones that we were successful with before, especially because we can prove that it works. However, we have these like master plans, and if I would want to see where the gaps are of where there is opportunity within the opportunity zones, because I wouldn't want us to use all these resources for, the track on the right when there's only like 2 or 3 lots that have quote unquote opportunity. And I'm just wondering how far we've drilled down within those tracks, but I agree that it makes sense. But let's make it make sense in like drilling down all the way. My thought with the one on the east side of 99 is that right now it's currently, and okay, this is where the question comes. So they go by census tracts. Is there a way to apply when all you really have in mind is a corridor? And my brain is going to the 99 corridor. We need to infuse it. This is a great way to do it. If we're looking at that south tract down there, we've got all these new, nicer dealerships and people doing things there, but North Lynnwood's kind of neglected up there. So I would really want to focus on actual opportunities where maybe there's like a desert of opportunities. And, I don't know what it takes to analyze each track, but as I look at each of our 4 tracks, that's where my brain goes. Clearly, we want to apply where you guys, the professionals, think we have the most sense. But if we could add one or do, 3 out of 4, or if you were only going to pick one of the last 2 because there's really not many zones open in the right one, you know what I mean? I think for our community and people, we need to infuse something up on the mixed-use 99 corridor on the right, and so that they can travel closer to the things, right? Or have nicer stuff, developments, living, retail, mixed use, all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Escamilla. I will say, so for the 4 eligible tracts, it would have to remain within that census tract. So if we're looking at the north census tract, I'm guessing the census tract lines on the east side of Highway 99. So everything that's on the west side of Highway 99 would not be eligible under the opportunity zone. Same for the census tract that's on the west side of Highway 99. Nothing on the east side would qualify if that was what we were applying for. I will say, like Ben shared, of how the city needs to strategize and prioritize how many census tracts we want to apply for, whether it be the 2 that we currently have, or even if we have to narrow it down to 1 census tract. The documentations that the Department of Commerce have currently provided with some guidance essentially gives us a scoring criteria of how well an applicant would score if they were to apply for a census tract. So for instance, if we were to apply for the census tract on the bottom south where City Center is, that census tract will most likely score very highly with all the redevelopment that we've already seen, with all of the strategic documents and planning documents that the city has already put in place for our city center, versus maybe these census tracts on the north and the west may score a little bit lower since we haven't seen that redevelopment occur in the city. So it's kind of what you want to weigh as your pros and cons to see what is the strongest application that the city can put forward in order to even get a designation, since it is much more competitive this time, and if we want to keep the 2 that we already have, the first round was only 1 census tract, and now we're reapplying for 2. So we're technically asking for more census tracts than the first time around.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you guys have maps within the map of like current land use zoning maps of those like opportunities within the tracts at this moment, or we're not there yet?
So currently working very closely with our planning team. We have several staff members that are working on this application. So essentially we want to include in our application a map that would outline, the last major redevelopment projects that have occurred in the last 5 years, or what we anticipate coming into the city in the next 5, 10 plus years. So really making a strong case of why we think these are the best census tracts for OZ, what has already worked in the past and what is going to continue to work in the future.
That makes sense. Can I just, sorry guys, last question, but the triangle on top is mostly predominantly right now single family homes. Why would that have been identified? Is it due to the income?
Yes.
Because we wouldn't want to go and disrupt something that really hasn't been disrupted, but that's why I think you get the higher score down below. But can you explain why it would have been identified?
So the census tracts are determined by median family income and the poverty rates. So the census tract on the north, east of Highway 99, the median family income was 73% with a poverty rate of 22%. The census tract on the west of Highway 99 had a median family income of 60% with a poverty rate of 14%, while the bottom 2 census tracts had median family incomes of 54% and 61%, and poverty rates of 10% and 15%. So those are the qualifying factors to qualify those 4 census tracts to be considered OZs. It wasn't necessarily because one was more developed or one was more residential. It was based on those 2 factors.
It actually makes sense with the school district financial demographics as well, because I believe that's all Spruce. So thank you for explaining that to all of us.
Councilmember Mata.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. So I understand, I guess, what the program is, and I have some concerns. When I hear about wanting to incentivize development in areas that have high poverty and are in distress, that to me sounds a lot like gentrification. And I think I've been trying to do a lot of research this weekend to understand how opportunity zones and the multifamily tax exemption, how they kind of play together, because both of them, their goal is to incentivize development. But with the MFT, we can add guardrails and affordability kind of requirements onto that development. Whereas with the opportunity zones, it doesn't seem like those same guardrails are in place. So my biggest question, I guess, really, as we think about this program is, are we actually creating opportunities for the people who already live here, or are these incentives that could price them out? Because I think our, investment is only win if our residents can stay to see the benefits. But I think about what happened with, the light rail in South Lynnwood and a lot of the concerns that have been brought to us. So I guess my main questions are, what protections do we have in place? Are we already thinking about to prevent displacement for these areas? And are there affordability requirements, tenant protections, like community benefit agreements tied to these opportunity zones? Because just from the research I've done, it really just sounds like it's meant to attract private development, increase housing, like use these tax breaks as an incentive, but in a way that, to me, doesn't seem like we have as much control over that development like we do with some of the other programs in place.
I'm not sure I caught a question, but I'm happy to comment.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, are there affordability requirements and protections in place for these opportunity zones so that we're not just selling out our community members for the sake of development? Okay.
Well, the short answer within the Opportunity Zone program itself is no, as you identified. In terms of what the city can do to influence that, that really comes back to the city's own land use plans and our own development standards, right? And then also what additional incentives have we layered on top of that? That's where our primary influence is, for example. The concern about gentrification and displacement is real. In the case of City Center, past city councils and mayors going back 15 years have really very consciously and deliberately identified City Center as an area that they were ready to redevelopment. Well, redevelopment, if you already have buildings there, by its very definition, is displacement, right? So those single-story and two-story office buildings and large format retail and strip centers, we were ready to see those go away.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the areas, Perrinville by Lindale Park, all of these neighborhoods that were just identified, those areas.
So back to your question then, with that, one of the ways we do control is by which census tracts do we submit for approval. And to take in your concern, that would, if you don't want to incentivize redevelopment where you didn't want it relative to these maps, one really, gross way to do it, not a very refined way, but is to really limit the number of census tracts you are submitting. So, for example, just focusing on that one census tract that covers City Center and a portion of South Lynnwood. South Lynnwood is a mixture of commercial properties and residential properties kind of mixed in with each other. What we have observed, however, is that users of this program are generally, as we've experienced it, real estate redevelopment investment. You can use the program to invest in businesses. We're more likely to see that in rural areas than in urban areas, particularly ones that are transforming like ours. But that is what you've just described is a consideration council could consider in terms of which census tracts you would feel supportive of advancing.
Okay, so I definitely would like to see more specific census tracts to understand exactly what these areas are rather than just the broad scope. I also, one other point that I want to make is if we think above incentivizing development, that's obviously a goal that we as a council want. We want people to build in our city. We want more homes. We want all of these things. I would love us have a parallel track or something that I know we've discussed in terms of, I think it was the mayor that mentioned a community working agreement or like some of these other kind of protections that we can have in place to make sure the things that are getting developed in a way that we're proud of. So I think especially as we think about opportunity zones and the future development, I want to make sure before all of those things get off the ground that we have built into our request for proposals, that there needs to be, local hire, the minimum wage, like some of these other aspects. So I just kind of wanted to check in on that and see what can we be doing to ensure the development doesn't price people out, but also be protecting our city and our residents in a way that's really benefiting everybody in the long run before we get too invested in all of these new projects.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's an incredibly important conversation for the council and the mayor to have. I certainly hear loud and clear your concerns. Councilmember Owens and Lutweiler, I've heard similar questions and concerns. I'll just note that, again, as it relates to opportunity zones, there is no way for us to make any alterations to that program, that federal program. The mayor has directed DBS to prepare a updated draft of revisions to the multifamily tax abatement process, the MFTE program. That will be coming to you this summer. Our goal is to attempt to have that for your consideration and approval before your August recess. And in fact, Sarah is reviewing request for proposal responses from consultants to do the analytical work for that. It's already been discussed to potentially look at additional requirements related to that program, such as community benefit agreements and hire agreements. I'll simply note that while legally we can make those adjustments, at the end of the day, those are incentives where we're trying to attract affordable housing units through that program and development. And to the extent that additional requirements add cost, it will limit the financial incentive. So it'll be a balancing act when we get to that point of conversation. Larger projects, such as the particularly ones that are city funded, such as the new wastewater treatment plant, typically provide greater sway and latitude and market impact that could be really potentially vehicles for that. You see the large mega projects have apprenticeship agreements and project hire agreements. And there are different incentives related to that for why that's potentially beneficial to all involved. When it comes to private development, it's a trickier proposition. So I look forward to the conversation, and we'll have more opportunities to discuss.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Lutweiler.
Trying to remember my question. No, mine's kind of a little bit extra credit and kind of a building off of Councilmember Escamilla's point. I think point well taken on that. Definitely a desire to do what we can to help with development further north and along the corridor. Out of scope, maybe, or not out of scope, but you've made a clear argument of why you're looking at these two zones. It just got me thinking, if we're in a position to look at the sub-area plan for Highway 99 and College District or College Place in the next couple years, could we expect to see a lot of the expertise and knowledge that you've gained on this project and just the quality of the reports and everything that are making these two areas so great to keep building off of? Could we expect to see our sub-area plans for Highway 99 and College District kind of benefit from all of that as we update them, and maybe that provides a little bit longer, roadmap, but it kind of gives us that planning that Councilmember Escamilla was alluding to?
In short, yes. It's been a number of years since the adoption of the original sub-area plan. We've already, through the adoption of the Unified Development Code, have made significant changes in the zoning along there. There's also been significant development along that time. And it certainly would be, I think, timely to revisit that and update it, modernize it. And in so doing, the city would set the stage for encouraging development. Again, doing a plan, doing investment, putting in the incentives doesn't in of itself make it happen, but you can certainly improve the conditions for that type of investment to happen. I have to note, though, and only because the executive team for the city is living this week by week, that type of work is going to cost money because we have a lot of qualified staff, but they have other duties, and so it would basically require us to hire the right set of consultants who can provide the right set of expertise. And the city center plan, for example, sub-area plan, and the subsequent planned action ordinance, which really set the table, I would say that was somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000 worth of work spread out over 4 years. And so that I offer that as just an example of the type of investment. That is not to say that we would require that level of investment for Highway 99. It's not quite as complex. But when we go through the budget discussions for the next biennium and think about the future, these are going to be some of the questions, trade-offs, options that will be on the table.
Okay. And then we're going to try to wrap this up. Thank you.
Thank you for educating us. Now that you have explained the whole thing and the quadrants, and you guys are moving forward with this, my official recommendation is not to even consider the tracks that we haven't applied for because of Councilwoman Mata's. Like, that's where my brain was going. I just needed you guys to explain it a little more and suss it out and see if we could only do a corridor within a track. But once you get it approved, like, the whole thing's game for developers. So we don't want to cause, when we're already focused on the city center. So for me personally, I don't know anyone else, if we don't need to use resources messing around with the other ones, I would recommend that we just focus on the ones that we're already doing. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Just a quick note, again, for council, the type of a development that occurs in our city is controlled by our land use.
Okay, last chance. All right, very good. Thank you
Great
very
feedback.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Item 7 is new business. Does any council, looks like council president.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
just be real quick. In light of what was just said, do we still want to form the workforce or labor task group?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was wondering if you
Absolutely.
wanted to do
So we'll need 2 to 3 members to volunteer, and then we'll need one of you to be chair.
I'll volunteer.
You got
I'll
time?
volunteer.
Okay, you got time for this?
Yeah.
All right, can I get a third? Amen. Okay, so we've got 3 people. We do need a chair.
I nominate Bryce.
Sure.
Do you accept?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to nominate you.
Yeah. All right, we have a chair, and then I would love to have a timetable of how long you guys think you'll need to come back with something. That's been our issue in the past, is we haven't kind of given timetables on these things. I just want to make sure we're kind of keeping track.
Give us like 2 months.
Yeah, I was going to say 30 days to 60 days. Let's just, we'll have a discussion too between the 3 of us because that doesn't break OPMA about a good meeting time, those sorts of things.
Okay, so we'll just shoot for early June until I hear something more. Okay.
I'd also like to know if the mayor is simultaneously working on anything so that we don't double our efforts.
Perhaps y'all 3 can meet with the mayor, or the chair can meet with the mayor and then figure all that out.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other new business? If not, we'll go to item 8A, executive session. City Council interviews for Assistant City Administrator candidates pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, Paragraph 1, Paragraph G. We will be adjourning from this executive session. There will be no action taken after this session. So let us now adjourn to that executive session. Yes, sir.
Do I
Council
need to
President.
extend the agenda if we're going to be in there for 2 hours? Extend
No.
the meeting? Okay. No.
Well, let me okay, we do have to give a time for the exec session. So can we say
8:30.
90 minutes? 90 minutes? Go for 90 minutes and then
It
see
says
what
120 here.
happens. It does, but
What does that mean?
we can always, if we go beyond the 90 minutes,
Okay.
we can come back and announce an extension.
Okay.
Okay. So we will go for 90 minutes. Thank you.